for those of you who do not know, Spike, who is a radio host out in Philadelphia and a podcast host about the Sixers, he's regarded JJ Redick as something of a negative muse. And it's to the point where I don't know if you legitimately hate JJ Redick or if you love to hate JJ Redick. Either way, Redick going from NBA Twitter darling as Lakers coach this season to object of scorn and a flame out has caused people to email me, my subscribers, demanding you to talk about it. And I actually think there are some interesting things to talk about. I think right now in the playoffs, with reputations getting torn asunder, mocked, everything else, we can get into this idea of whether it's deserved, whether there's randomness, whether choking is real. And I want to start with the Reddick disaster, as you put it. There was a tweet that you put out there. I will read it.
Oh, all right. Yes,
no, give it take. Give it take first.
The post-Reddick disaster. Yeah. Well, yeah. It is funny. Like, I'm 48 and I've been professional for almost 30 years. And it's funny, like you only get known for a couple of things, right? Like even if you have a success, it really gets whittled down to like one or two things. And somehow JJ Redick has become one of my calling cards. When they lost, I got so many texts the next day, like, oh man, this must be great for you. As if like I'm, taking the day off to celebrate JJ Redick's loss in the playoffs. But yes,
which you did. I heard from my sources. You went to Six Flags. Is what I heard. That's what I heard through my sources. This JJ Redick disaster. You start your tweet. You're like Trump. The JJ Redick disaster was entirely predictable. He thinks being an NBA coach is about designing plays and being smarter than everyone, when the most important thing is the emotional intelligence of managing the personalities of the world's best players. He doesn't have that. That was an interesting take. And then there was this other interesting take out there. People brought up, and I don't know if it's fair, but I want to believe in a way. There's a lot here. Reddick has had a history of choking as a player. In the biggest moments. NCAA tournament, great college career, really bad in the tournament. Sterling pro career, really impressive veteran NBA career.
Never hit a big shot in the playoffs. Not at least for the Sixers.
Yeah, and I have those memories from just watching the Clippers and Warriors and just going, there's just no impact on anything. And then as a coach, when it got nervy, when it got tight, not his best moments, plays all of his starters for an entire half, which had never happened before. And beyond that, I was trying to write an article about this and just decided to just talk with you all about it. Got so peevish in the press conference. And, this is a detail that I think to a fan, it might have not seemed like as weird as it actually was. There are things that happen in the NBA that are totally normal. But to the fan, if shown on camera or at an odd time, people react like it's crazy. And then there are things that are actually even weirder than they might seem. Reddick goes off on some reporter in the pregame before Game 5,
like a tiny little baby.
This. Yeah, asking about this whole playing everybody, some rambling question about, will you lean on your assistants and lineup decisions or whatever? The thing to know about the pregame press conference with coaches, they're very low-key emotional affairs. Nothing really needs to be said. They're kind of just there for the coach to tell you if somebody's injured or not playing. And the coaches don't, for the most part, interface much with the questions. And if a question is insulting, like he could have found that question, you don't have to do anything about it. It's not even on live TV, like the post-game press conferences that you more often see. But he flips on the guy just a bit and literally voices that, are you saying this because you think I'm not experienced enough to make these decisions or to lean on my favorite part was the end where he said something like that's a weird assumption. It's weird. Like you're being
yeah, like you're literally the least experienced coach in the NBA. That you've never coached on any level prior to this. You've never been a head coach on any level. Yes, I would think that's probably the most fair assumption you could actually make, is that he has a lack of experience, right? I mean, he's not experienced at all.
Well, I wouldn't have expected him to make the subtext text like that. That's what was interesting about it. And if it was Tim McMahon who had asked the question, he would have said, well, yeah, because you just did something that's absolutely crazy. Of course, I don't think you're leaning on your assistants. I'm being charitable in a way.
Well, but like, this is the reason why I said it's not surprising. This is exactly who he was as a media personality, that everybody was lauding. Like, this whole condescending, I'm smarter than you, the media doesn't know what they're talking about, but I do, even though I'm in the media. The sports talkers are just doing it for clicks. The analysts aren't giving you the analysis you need. Like, this whole act was what everybody was lauding him for, because like he was mirroring the sort of like online NBA mob that thinks that, you know, Charles and Kenny are dumb and regular NBA fans are stupid and the game's actually better than it's always been. And like, there's no this and there's no that, and you're actually stupid. It's exactly what he did as a media personality. And it's exactly what he did that made everybody laud him. Like my podcast partner seemed to love him as a media personality and now is crushing him as a coach. And I'm just looking at it and saying like, this is the same guy. This is the guy who thought he was smarter than everybody else. It's the same guy. And his, he not only presents that way to reporters, which is like, even if the question wasn't phrased great, to your point, there's no reason to do some weirdo. How many mic drops has he had in his first year as coach? Like 3 of them that he's mic dropped out of a press conference. Who even does that? I've been watching like the NBA for 40 years. I've never seen anybody mic drop out of a fucking press conference until this weirdo. So anyway, it's just like, I think he turns into, he's very high strung. He's wound very tight. He turns into a tiny little freak out baby when things don't go his way. And the thing about being an NBA coach, and I actually liken him to, let's take like Budenholzer, is probably known more as a scheme guy than a manager of men guy. I would even say Nick Nurse is one of those guys. Now they both have championships and JJ Redick doesn't, but like, I think if you asked most general managers, would you rather have a head coach who is great at managing the personalities of the egos of my players, or is really, really like good at X's and O's? They would take the former and not the latter. And when JJ can't fucking X and O or smart his way into his team winning, he doesn't know what to do. Like he has never, I haven't seen at any point did he say, this was an error that I made. Like, this is something that I did. Everything is just like a failure of the team to execute exactly how he said. Almost like Chip Kelly is. Chip Kelly was that same way. Chip Kelly was like, nah, the plan wasn't bad. They just didn't do it the right way. And you may even think that, but to voice that so publicly with these ego guys, I don't know. There's a lot there. I think his personality is really bad for this. And if he doesn't adjust, I think he'll definitely fail. Like, he'll definitely get fired. You think Luka wants him, and I know they all went to dinner or whatever, but his comment after the series about not everybody was in playoff condition, and like, I get it, I agree, but calling your best player fat in the press conference, we'll call him fat. You don't have to call him fat. Like, you should work with him privately. I just think this is not going to work, you know?